Hello and welcome to another DIY Indie Musicians Talking Music. I'm really happy this time to have Mike Five with me. How you doing, Mike?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. And we're here to celebrate the launch. It's been the 1 year anniversary now of Mike's new label. You said it's a collective, correct?
Yeah, it's a record
Lights.
label and music collective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Lights and lines.
Yes.
So tell me about it. This is really exciting stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me first.
Oh,
It's
my
a
pleasure.
pleasure to be here. I'm not used to being on camera, so I'm constantly looking at myself on this. I
No
just have to
worries.
ignore myself. But yeah, no, yeah, pleasure to be here. Yeah, it's 1 year this month since we put out our first release. So it took a little while to set things up and get to that point, of course, but we sort of count the 1 year anniversary as the bit that everyone sees, because no one ever sees all the stuff you do in the background necessarily. So yeah, it's really exciting. And I guess the label it's kind of got two parts to it, is the way I look at it. So there's a record label part, which is we will pick artists and go, hey, I really like your music. Do you want to work together and put something out? And there's all of that goes with that. And then the collective part is really about the wider community. There's a huge community of independent musicians, as you know, obviously
Yes,
doing this
definitely.
and being involved in it yourself. It's absolutely massive. So when I set this up, I kind of wanted to, get all of those people, or at least all the people that wanted to be involved in it in some way. And so we kind of set up as a part of this is a collective where we will run kind of community-based events and competitions and just opportunities for people to get involved in whatever it is we're doing at the time, just to help amplify their voice and get them out. Because just because I say something's good, that's just one person's opinion, right? And we'll
Right.
go and sign, hopefully, the people that we want to sign, as long as they want to work with us. And that's all well and good. And we've built a reputation around that, and people are interested in that, which is great. But also there's loads of other stuff. So if we can introduce more people to more musicians and more music, then I think that's a good thing. So it's kind of both, which is quite exciting.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been 12 months, nearly to the day that we're recording this, actually.
No, listen, that's fantastic. And I love the fact that you also sort of involving the community. You've got a little bit of a ground game going too, which is something that's so important these days, right? Especially after 2 years of lockdowns and all this and no live music and all these things going over onto, streaming. It's wonderful to sort of reconnect with community.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important. And,
Yeah.
I've always been in bands and always been involved in music since I was 14. I put my first gig on, I think, when I was 15, which I look back and I thought that was really successful. I wonder how I did that so well. But yeah, it's never been as good. But, I've always put gigs on and played in bands. And,
Right.
I did manage a band briefly, which was quite exciting. I also managed a comedian, which was a bit, that was really good fun, actually. But just generally involved in that sort of underground music and arts kind of scene,
Right.
and that's really what sparked the label itself came about, because I'd sort of been procrastinating over the idea for most of those 20 years. Every now and again, like me and a group of friends would go, we should start a label, that'd be really good. And you just kind of you find reasons not to do it, whether it's personal reasons like kids, work, family, whatever, or whether it's money, or there's always something like, time is obviously the main thing which you give up more than anything else. You find excuses not to. And I think for me it was a 2020 New Year's resolution, and of course I didn't know, no one necessarily knew that there was going to be a global pandemic and mass lockdown and everything else. And it kind of that year turned into research, and I started talking to lots of other labels and people that have been signed to labels, and just kind of asking, what do you do? Why do you do it? Was kind of what I wanted to know. And a lot of people everyone does something slightly different, but the people did it because they wanted to, and because they sort of felt like they had to share. Like they were always the people that made mixtapes for their friends, and that was me. It was kind of, hey, you should listen to this, or you should check this out. And it was kind of an extension of that, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I'm not that different to these people, and it seems like this big, scary world, but actually they're all kind of doing the same thing for the same reason. So then it just became about, well, what makes us different and what makes us unique, and it was, a lot of that. Because I was saying off air, we don't have a specific genre that we work in. We're not a punk label or an indie label or whatever. We've got, off the top of my head, we've got a kind of folky, bluesy singer-songwriter artist. We've got a electronic artist. We've got a punky type band and a grungy type band and a experimental weird thing. And there's a whole range of stuff. And there's other things coming up that are totally different again. But to me, it was kind of, it is that spirit, it's that narrative, it's that storytelling, it's that ability to put something out and tell some sort of story, whether that's a true story or a completely fictitious story, it doesn't matter. It's almost, that's to me is more powerful and more intriguing than the next version of a billion love songs, which we all love songs. There's loads of great love songs, but it's not my area. It's been done. I've been married for a long time. I've got 2 kids. I'm not interested in soppy love songs anymore. So it's kind of what's different and interesting.
That's absolutely fantastic. And so tell me a little bit about your how many releases do you have then under your belt at this point? Just the one, or do you have multiple things out there?
Oh no, lots. That is a great question, actually. So we put out in our first year. I'm just going to look this up to make sure I get it right. Actually, hang on. So we put out 6 albums and EPs, which were kind of proper releases. And when I say proper, we do physical releases. So at the moment, it's all CDs. So they're all CD, proper packaged up, and obviously digital versions as well. We had 4 bonus, 3 actually. One came out after, well, sort of isn't quite out yet. So 3 kind of bonus releases. So one was a demos tape, one was a compilation album, which again goes back to that collective bit where people submitted tracks as part of a charity compilation we did over Christmas. One was an old album by a band that we've signed, but when they were a different band, so kind of a new thing but kind of an old thing. So we did that, and then we also put out 5 singles as well. So in total, with all the B-sides and the bonuses and everything, it was 108 songs in a year.
Wow.
Yes, it was a busy year.
No, I mean that's a real achievement. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
kudos to that. And so they all CD releases, or have you released in any other formats?
So at the moment it's all CD and digital. I'm a massive CD fan. Like, I absolutely love CDs. I was born in the mid 80s and I grew up in the 90s. So CDs were the thing that I bought. And from a very young age, I had Spice Girls albums and Supergrass albums in the same pile. Like, I didn't care. It was just music. I loved it when I was about 8 years old. So I've always bought CDs, apart from maybe a couple of years in the early 2000s when iTunes was big, and I thought, I'll sell all my CDs and download everything one summer, which I regret because I sold quite a lot of CDs that I've never got back. But I've always kind of done that. Eventually we want to move into vinyl as well, because again, I love the format. I've got not huge, but I've got decent sized sort of record collection. It's something I'm passionate about. But it's kind of cost and time. At the moment I've
heard that vinyl's got extraordinarily expensive.
It's pretty crazy. It depends what you do, right? So short runs are impossible, really. To at the very least, you want to make your money back on these things.
Yeah.
And if you get a very short run, the cost per unit is so high, you would have to sell it for an amount that very few people would pay for, which means that you're probably not going to sell them, or you sell them cheap and you lose money. Yeah. And it's not all about making money, but you don't want to lose any more money than we already lose.
No, of course. I mean, wasting money means, it's not necessarily just less profit; it's less ability to do more, right?
Yeah, this is exactly it. And from my point, from the label point of view, everything we make, we're reinvesting into the label, so we can't really afford to lose money on releases. As much as some of them don't make as much as others, that's fine. It's about introducing new artists and all that. But the second thing is the time lag. So last time I checked, it was about 9 months lead time. So you pay up front, and if you spend $5,000 on a vinyl run, you have to wait 9 months before you get the product, and then you've got
Yeah.
to go and sell it. So cash flow is if you wanted to release an album a month, it's an absolute nightmare. It's
No,
not
no,
going to
it's
work. So we're kind of not there yet, but we are applying for some funding that might help with that.
fingers crossed with that. So tell me, how do you actually physically produce your CDs? Do you do it in house, or do you send it out to a supplier?
So we have a supplier. They're local. Well, they're quite local to me. They're actually nearer to where I was born, which is about 70 miles away from where I am now. But they're pretty local. When I was first kind of researching and I was looking at different companies, there are a number of bigger companies that will do probably cheaper runs, but there's a little bit of a question around quality on some of them and stuff like that.
Right.
But these guys just seem really cool. It's a really small independent kind of setup. They have always been really good to me and tried to do deals because, we're a label and a small label, and they're trying to support what we do as much as we want to support what they're doing as well. So they're really good. And the first release, I actually drove up there and picked it up rather than getting to post it to me so I could meet the team and all that. And they showed me around. So yeah, they're really cool. So we use, just one partner for CD production at the moment. If we get massive and have to print millions of them, then maybe we'll have to spread it around. But for now, these guys are good. So
yeah. No, I mean that makes perfect sense. And with CDs, you can be a smaller operation,
yeah,
and
definitely,
still be successful, right? Because with CDs, it's usually a bank of CD basically recorders, and they're just recording and then putting it in.
Pretty much.
It's not a massive. It's not a massive sort of assembly line or anything like that.
No, it doesn't require.
Records.
It doesn't have all the machinery and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing I like, this is one of them I just got here. But
nice.
It's the quality of the artwork and everything that they put on it.
So they've got a good printer then, or is the printing done separately, or is it?
No, they do all of the printing and the cases, and they print on the discs as well. Nice. So it's really, really good. It's really kind of robust. Quality. It feels proper. I like these 4-panel things in particular.
Yeah, no, that's a really good format too. It's better than those jewel cases.
Yeah, our first one we did on a jewel case, and it's good, but it's we wanted to reduce plastic and stuff.
Yeah, well, the problem with jewel cases, the moment you drop it, you break it.
Yeah, well, this is the problem. Actually, no, it wasn't a jewel. It was the Digipack was our first one. So it's a kind of a hybrid thing, right? But yeah, no, they're I've got broken cases everywhere.
Yeah, no, I know, and it's the worst thing, and then you're recycling it anyway. And so this really fascinates me. I'm an old sort of record store hand. I worked for years in like a major record store in Canada.
Brilliant.
And it was a great experience because there's nothing better to really expand your musical knowledge and just access, because it was one of those stores that tried to have at least a copy of everything.
Yeah, cool.
And what's interesting though is how are you doing the distribution? Because I know you're much luckier in England, let's say, than in Canada as an example, because there's a much bigger sort of ecosystem, I'm assuming, still in place from the old DIY days, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in Canada, there really wasn't. There was sort of used record stores that pop up, and then many of them didn't survive the last 2 years, unfortunately, including a couple of really good ones.
Yeah.
But so how are you distributing?
So I can't show you it. This room that I'm in is very small. So this wall here with my kid's lovely drawing on it from a couple of years ago. This actually is an airing cupboard behind here, so it gets very hot in here. And then what you can't see over there is just not that much further away is a window, which is a south-facing window. So I've got this very hot, small room, and above me here are boxes and boxes and boxes of CDs. And basically, what I didn't realize about running a warehouse, and the reason I could just kind of go, oh yeah, I've got this one to hand if you want to see it, is you, when you run a label, you basically end up running a small warehouse. So I spend quite a lot of my life surrounded by where's it gone? Things like this roll of brown tape, for example, is just on the floor here, and basically packing up these things. So we've had conversations with distributors about getting some of the products in stores and stuff like that. And there's one in particular who I don't think I'm allowed to name yet, but they keep coming back to us. They're a big name. They seem quite interested, and we're just trying to, I think we need to probably do a bit more. And I think this year anniversary is a good kind of milestone for them. And when we first spoke, they're like, "Oh, it sounds good. We'll put you in touch with Dave," and then Dave never replies. But now I think there's a bit more. The last conversation with them was a bit more positive. So we're looking at that kind of thing, but mostly it's completely DIY. It's literally, there are boxes everywhere of stuff and envelopes and stuff like that. We take orders and everything through Bandcamp. Most of our sales come through Bandcamp.
Okay.
A few of the bands obviously gig, which helps if you gig and go on tour or whatever. Then we give them a bunch of CDs, and we also give them some cards with like a QR code. So if they run out of CDs when they're touring, people can scan the code and buy the CD, and we'll give them the postage off as if they were at the gig, sort of thing. So we kind of it's a small operation, right? We're not selling thousands and thousands of records a week or anything like that just yet. One day, of course, but it's literally it's just, I had shelves full of books once, and now they're full of boxes of CDs.
Yeah, well, listen, everything starts like that, right?
Yeah, and the interesting thing, like I said before, I spoke to a lot of people that run record labels, and one of the coolest people I spoke to, who gave me the best advice in many ways, it was a guy called Mike who runs Asian Man Records.
Okay.
And they put out, I always get the band wrong. They've got a big band on their label, which I'm going to look up quickly rather than get it wrong and embarrass myself. Where is it? I can't find the page of their. Oh, it's Alkaline Trio. So they put out the first Alkaline Trio album.
Right.
And so, that did really well, and they got huge, and they got signed to a major label, and he still kind of owns the rights to that first album. So he still sells loads of copies of that album because it's, they're still a massive popular band in certain parts of the world and certain communities and stuff like that. But that was 90s, mid 90s, was it? Or early 2000s? Okay. It was a long time ago. He runs what I would regard as a very successful record label. He still runs it out of a shed. His only employee is his mum, who helps out. And he, although he's got a bit more money to play with, he can basically use that to put out wherever he likes. And he doesn't care if it sells or not. He's doing it because he enjoys doing it. And he offers a good service. Like, he gets the band studios and stuff to record in, which most indie labels can't afford, really. In fact, most major labels don't even do it anymore. And he kind of does all this stuff, but he just does it because he loves it, and he has no intention of, becoming massive. Although he does have some distribution and a wider network for some of the bigger releases. He's still got that DIY ethic, and I really like it. I'm not sure I could keep it up if we were to grow. I think I'd drive my family mad, but I really like the idea of just like, if you're involved in it, it's personal. So we've got a load of these. Sorry, and I keep moving off camera. We've got these like beer mats, for example, where they're on a really good deal. And I was just like, I'm going to put those in with everything that anyone buys.
Yeah.
And then they've got somewhere to put their drink, and it's got my name, well, not my name, but the label's name on it. And that's cool. And people kept coming back going, "Oh, that beer mat was really cool. Can I get another one?" I was like, "Yeah." So these cost me about £2. You can have as many as you like. It's fine. But, stuff like that you can do. Whereas as soon as you give it out and you sort of, give the distro to someone else, the minute you go, I want to put a beer mat in everyone, they go, "Okay, that's another 50p per thing." And you go, "Well, hang on, who's paying for that? You're going to keep putting the price on top of the item. Actually, it's not such a good deal. It's much better if we just do it at the moment, I think. Cut out the middleman." So that's where we are anyway. That's a long answer to a simple question.
No. Listen, it's fascinating stuff. I really enjoy these interviews with people that are in other parts of the industry as opposed to just musicians, right? Because there's so many other aspects to it that a lot of people just aren't even aware of or haven't thought about. That are critical to having any success. When you come right down to it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're in a fantastic position in the sense that you're able to do something you enjoy, which you obviously do just from talking to you about it. But and it allows you all this freedom. You're involved in music in a meaningful way, and it's fantastic. So tell me, in terms of the collective, who else is sort of directly involved in stuff? Is it just you spearheading it, or are there a team of people that are also, working with it sort of in the day to day?
No, it's a bit of both. So it started as me, and a lot of it is me in terms of the day to day. One of the things we've done, well, this year will be our 5th year in 6 because we missed 2020 because of COVID. But we've run a festival for what will be 6 years, I guess, this year. And the first time I did that, it was just me,
right?
And it was 11 bands, and I was in one of them. And it was just a one day, it was, we called it a festival, but it was just like an all day thing. And it was, one stage and everything. But I realized quite quickly, I was doing the door, I was introducing the bands, I was helping people load in, I was, talking to customers that didn't want to pay, and whatever else, whatever other nonsense you get. I was trying to, have a few drinks. Sometimes I needed to eat or go to the toilet. And then at one point I was on stage for 45 minutes. And I was like, hang on a minute, I can't do this. This is why haven't I thought this through? And you just don't, right? You just go, yeah, let's do this. Let's go. We can do it. It'll be fine. So next year I got a couple of people to help, and we just ran it as the same size show, but got a couple of people. And the next year I was like, okay, let's grow it. And the venue we're in has two venues really. You can sort of book out an upstairs and a downstairs. So we booked out both. We did 2 stages. We did, I think it was 23 bands or something like that.
Wow.
Or no, in fact, it was 20 bands on the 2 stages, and then actually we had someone over from the US who was on a little sort of mini tour of England,
right? And
they said, "Oh, can we get a set?" And we're like, "We literally don't have a slot, but if you want to sit in the bar, which is in the middle of the 2 stages, we don't even have a microphone. But if you just want to play, we'll tell people to go and see you." And they did. It was really good. It was really intimate, small little thing. So it's 21 in that year. Bands, but of course by that point I sort of knew I couldn't do it myself, so I had someone else running the second stage. I didn't have anything to do with that really, other than he had questions because he'd not really done it before, but him and his partner kind of helped with that. I had a couple of people helping me on the door, and it was kind of like, yeah, this is really good. And the next year it then grew again, and I think we had 10 volunteers and 3 stages, and suddenly it was like, oh, this is really good. I can literally do the things I need to do in the time I need to do them. So if I like to introduce the bands. I hate when you go to these things, people just turn up, play, and go, and you're just like, well, who was that? So I think simple things like that, right? So it was really, really good. We started doing it. So all of those people are involved, in different ways in parts of what we do, because they obviously the festival brought them all together, but they've become, that members of that group have become kind of part of the network, if you like, of people that are helping out behind the scenes. But also crucially, some of the artists themselves have got really involved. So Gozer Goodspeed was the first artist we signed, and it was his album that came out a year ago. He's got marketing background, so he's really helped me out with like Facebook ads and stuff like that, and just trying to crack the they've got loads of data, and if you can crack that algorithm, and ideally you put 20 quid in, you get 40 quid back. You could do that forever, right? So he's kind of helping me crack that. I've got Grim17, who again is one of our artists. He's helped with various things, both in terms of playing but also producing, because he's a good producer. He mixes and masters stuff. He's helped with that, but also he lives in Northern Ireland. And I don't know how much you know about the UK-Europe situation over there, but
it's a bit tricky. It's a bit tricky with Northern Ireland at the moment.
Yeah. It's a real mess. But the good thing is Northern Ireland has this thing where obviously it's part of Ireland in terms of its land mass. I'm sure I'll offend lots of people by saying it's part of Ireland, and also please lots of others. But it's in the same land space, and there is this border agreement. So if I give him stuff to post into Europe, he can just go 10 miles down the road and post it from Ireland, and I don't have to pay enormous amounts of money that I never used to have to pay before Brexit. And also the people at the other end don't have to pay money because they can never sync the two up. So people end up paying that twice and stuff. And it's just like, no. So stuff like that is just like, people just help with stuff where it's like, oh, I have this challenge. Can you help me out with this? And One Blind Mouse is the other one who's mastered a few of our releases. Again, we've put one of his out, and he's very experimental and kind of, weird electronic experimental droney, awesome kind of music that everyone goes, wow, I don't know what that was, but I really enjoyed it. But he will also quite happily sit there, and he's just been coaching one of our artists who's never recorded or released anything before, and he's just like, right, Go and stand further away from the microphone because your voice is too loud. Okay, don't hit the guitar with that plectrum, it's too clunky. Do this. And he's just like really good at helping people. You know, they're great musicians, but being in a studio or whatever is a totally different experience.
Yeah.
And he
Well,
has
what traditionally the best of the engineers used to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That kind of, not just like, you know, here's our money, we're here for a day and a half because it's now all we can afford. You're going to hit record and then go, do you want me to mix it? It'll cost you another 50 quid. It's kind of like we're actually doing, you know, I feel sorry for the industry in studios because they're amazing, and my best experiences recording are in real studios. But equally, we have this ability to do things, you know, most of us, at least in part, at home. And if you get the right people on board to help you with it, you can create some amazing stuff that's studio quality, particularly if you look at people that mix and master, because that's such a dark art.
Dark side, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yes, okay. But you know, we've got people. So on the kind of business side of the label, if you like, there's all of those people in all of those different bits supporting it. On the, you know, we're also we're funded by subscribers. So we started this with a crowdfunder to get some kind of seed money. And one of the things we offer people, and again, it's through talking to other labels and finding out what they did, we offered a subscription. So you pay us once and we will give you a copy of everything that we release for a year. Okay?
Smart.
Yeah, and what it does, if enough people do it, which thankfully, you know, most of them have renewed, and also we've got some new ones over the last year, you get enough in the sort of pot of money to pay for all your manufacturing, which means you can pay the artist straight away. You don't have to recoup your costs, you know, wait till you made your money back. Which again is the sort of traditional way of doing it. Instead, you pay up front using that. As soon as something sells, you pay the artist, you know, their cut. You just arrange. You obviously don't do it daily because that's daft, but you arrange if it's monthly or quarterly or whatever. You give the artist their kind of money, but also you can plan ahead. You can, you know, really think about what can I do. You don't have to worry about the success of one release and whether or not it affects another, because they're two completely independent things. They shouldn't have any effect on one another. So you kind of bypass. I think it's quite a smart way anyway to bypass the, you know, the capitalist bit of running a record label by kind of going, you're all part of our community and we're going to give you everything we release and anything cool we can think of for a year because you're awesome and you've helped us fund this. So all of those people are part of it. And then it's really anyone else who's involved who wants to be. So we've just, Christmas, we did a compilation album so anyone could submit tracks, and we just kind of picked ones that worked in the flow for what we're doing. It was a charity album. We've run covers competitions. We're running a remix competition for a single at the moment. So we've given all the stems out. Loads of people are just messing them up, basically, which is great. We've just done a thing called Album Writing Club, where we had 50 people sign up, independent musicians. And we got, I think it was 28 in the end. So over the month of May, the task was, can you write and record an album or an EP? Could be an album or an EP. 28 people completed it, so I had 28 albums and EPs to listen to. We had 3 prizes to give away, and we ended up giving 5 because it was impossible. It's just, but it was, you know, anyone could do that, and the top prize for that is we're going to release the record. So we've announced 2 people. We're going to do an album and an EP that we will release, and we'll put it out fully on a CD, do it properly, and you know, I picked that one because I have to kind of love it to put it out.
Yeah, well, someone has to decide. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Whereas some of the other prizes,
listen, it might as well be the one who's brought the most blood, sweat, and tears into the whole thing.
Well, yeah, exactly. Especially sweat at the moment. We're in a heat wave in the UK at the moment, so it's lots of sweat. But yeah, then there were other prizes where I had to, you know, a group of kind of industry insiders, you know, people that write up things about music, or one guy that runs a radio station, for example, and others. So they kind of picked a thing, and we gave that a prize, and then we had a public vote for best single, so someone else won that. But it's just, you know, imagine 50 people saying, yeah, I'll try and write an album in a month. It's fantastic. And
no, that's great.
To get, I wasn't sure how many we'd get, to get over half of that, so 28 submissions is phenomenal. That's 28. It doesn't matter if we put it out or someone else does, or they do it themselves. That's 28 new albums and EPs that will enter the world as a result of doing that by independent musicians. And if they tag me in it or use the hashtag Album Writing Club that we put up with it, we will share that to death. Like, you know, and that's what I mean by community and collective. If you get involved in whatever silly thing we're doing at the time, we'll support it and we'll back it. And we, you know, people that like what we do and what we release also tend to like the fact that we support lots of other people who are trying to do similar things. Whether or not we sign them is almost irrelevant to a lot of people. It's just, you know, oh, Lights and Lines are involved in this. I'll check it out. Great.
No, that's fascinating, and I think you're really tackling one of the bigger problems that a lot of musicians face, especially in this market of 1 million, 10 million artists. It's actually getting found out among the crowd of how many people that are out there. So I think that what you're doing is really important with building the community and building this real network of but seriously. And I love the subscription model, because that's almost the perfect, you know, the apotheosis of the whole thing, right? It's very, very it's a stroke of genius. If I could just say it.
It's not an idea.
Well, whoever did it, you know, you're too humble to claim it for yourself, which is.
Well, I can't claim it because people buy subscriptions to coffee and beer and craft ale and magazines and you know.
Well, they did with music, but I think it had a bad reputation because it was that Columbia Record Club. I don't know if it ever made it.
I remember. It never made it. I don't think it ever made it here, but we used to read about it in the NME and Kerrang and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, it was terrible. It was basically a scam, right? That get you, and it was very difficult to unsubscribe. Was the problem?
Yeah, you know, that's the thing.
But no, that's great. So one thing before we continue on, what's the name of your music festival again?
Oh, it's called Off the Record. Or the full name is Off the Record Independent Music Festival. Because
and where is it being held next? We can do a plug for that now before we.
Oh yeah, of course. So that is in Brighton, in the UK.
Okay.
It runs every November because that's obviously the best time to hold a festival.
Yeah.
But it's indoors. It's 12th of November this year. So it's always kind of that second weekend. We should have, I think it's going to be similar scale, 24 bands. I think it's going to be 3 stages. We've improved the 3rd stage this time because that was kind of a test last time, and now it's going to be good. All original bands, and it's in Brighton in the UK. It will run all day, and it's at a venue called the Brunswick. And you can. Pretty sure. Yeah, let me just check. Yeah, you can buy tickets on our website. You can go and.
Okay, perfect. Well, good. Well, when we're done, I'm going to get you to send all kinds of links that I'll put.
Yeah, cool.
Excuse me. I'll put down in the description of the video.
Yeah, perfect.
And people can buy tickets. Go up and buy tickets.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of cool. We've got people flying over this year from different parts of the world as well. So people from Malta. Someone's flying from Germany. I think there's a couple of other places. So, you know, again, it's not, these things aren't massive. They're not, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. It's not Glastonbury or whatever. But it's definitely something is happening and something is snowballing and these things are growing, and it's really good to see. It's just really good fun. And as the things we do grow and the artists that we work with grow, we grow as well, which is really exciting. So, yeah, it's fun. It's cool.
No, that's absolutely great. No, what's more to say? Let me think. So you said you've been in a number of bands.
Yes.
So what instruments do you play?
I'm a guitarist.
Okay. Lead or rhythm or both?
Which way do I go? If I go that way, you can see there's a number of guitars.
Yeah, so I can see a number of I can see a number of heads. So are you a rhythm player or are you a lead player or both?
Well, both. I mean, I'm a lead in the bands I've been in. I've generally played lead guitar, but you know, to the extent that we were never very good at writing different guitar parts. So it was always kind of, you know, everyone plays the same 4, especially when you're younger. Everyone plays the same 4 chords, and then this bit you do a solo because you know a blues scale. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So it kind of started like that, and then gradually, you know, obviously as you get older, you improve. So yeah, mostly lead guitar in most of the bands I've been in. But I mean, it varies as well. So, you know, one of the things I did, you know, for the label, actually, one of the projects we put out was my own, or it started as mine, but there was about, again, 10 or so people, I think, ended up collaborating on it. And it was always meant to be that way because I don't sing. So it's very difficult for me to sit here and do things at home in lockdown or whatever, because I can't do that bit, or not very well anyway. So the thing that we ended up doing was a kind of contemporary folk, acoustic-y type thing, which had this weird theme about aliens invading in Anglo-Saxon Britain.
Okay.
But it wasn't really about that. It was about how people react to unprecedented situations, which was really a reflection of the fact that we're all sitting at home worried if we were going to die if we came out
In
the
the
house
middle of an unprecedented situation.
Yeah, that was exactly it. So it's this is what I mean about narrative. It's like it doesn't have to be true, but it's still a reflection of something that's happening. So
Yeah.
we're here talking about these guys wondering if they should get together and fight what appears to be aliens, but actually what we're talking about is people rising up against government, but also trying not to kill each other by breathing on themselves or whatever. So it's kind of all the different viewpoints of the world in one place in like 5 songs. So yeah, I kind of I do all sorts of weird stuff, to be honest. So depends what takes me at the time.
No, that's great. No, it's an interesting perspective as well. Running a label, but also being a musician.
I think I'm quite fortunate because I've literally, I mean, I say always, for the first 8 years of my life, I didn't know what music was. Probably 7 years of my life, and then I vividly remember I was in a car. I think we're on holiday somewhere with my parents and my younger brother, and my dad turned on the radio, and I was like, "What's this?" And I'm sure, in the 7 years preceding, he'd probably turned on the radio in the car before, but I just never noticed or cared.
Yeah.
Suddenly I was like, "What's this?" He was like, "Oh, it's this song." And then I kept asking him every song. He's like, "I don't know."
And do you remember what the song was?
No, I don't. I've got no idea. It was
it
would have been some weird chart thing, and we were possibly. I don't even know if we're in the UK, so God knows what it was. But I was just fascinated by it.
Yeah.
And then somehow that led to buying loads of CDs. And then it was when I was about 13, I started playing the guitar, and 14, 15 in bands and putting on shows. So I've literally always done it. But my other job, if you like, my career job, because this one doesn't quite pay the mortgage yet. As for a long time, I've worked in sales. I just happened to work in sales jobs for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, something like that, since I was at university, really. And I did all sorts of crap jobs before that. I worked in kitchens and bars and washed cars and all of the sorts of jobs. I say crap jobs like I'm crap at them because I'm terrible at those sorts of jobs. They're really important jobs. So I did all of that sort of stuff, ended up going to uni and then working in a sales job to kind of pay the bills in the evenings. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm one of these rare people, I think, that most creative people I know, most musicians I know, hate the idea of selling themselves, promoting themselves, talking about themselves, or even telling anyone that they're a musician. Whereas I'm kind of like, oh no, I can do the sales bit. I just hope my music's good enough. It's kind of like that's where my anxiety is, not about the promotion bit.
Yeah.
And actually, fortunately over the years I've got good feedback on my own music and things like that. But this isn't, this was never designed to be me putting out anything. This was that thing, like I said earlier, where it's kind of, when you give mixtapes to your friends or now it's playlists. This was me kind of going, I don't understand when no one knows who these people are. I have to tell people about it, and it just became that. Yeah. But I'm more than comfortable selling. I don't even think selling is a dirty word, which some people think. I think because it's not really selling; it's you're buying it. Like you go out and you buy things all the time.
Well, the thing is, that's it. Selling by its very nature implies a relationship.
It has to
right?
be, yeah.
You don't sell to yourself.
No, exactly.
There has to be another person on the end of the sale, right? So it's by nature, it's a social thing, and like you said, people are buying and selling all the time.
Yeah,
it's the most that the world would come to a screeching halt if it were to stop.
Yeah.
But no, I know it's crazy.
There's an element as well of, I always say to people, I'm kind of part anarchist, right? I was a punk, and I was still massively into punk music. I'm always part anarchist and I'm part socialist, but I don't necessarily think you should nationalize the railways because I don't think you should trust people with like governments with railways because they'll mess it up. So there's all these kind of like weird, intricate things, right? We all believe in slightly different versions of things. But I don't think there's anything wrong with including, some of the real life society that we live in, some of the capitalist kind of things within your life as well. Because at the end of the day, I think selling music to people is a joyous thing, and I actually think that's far less shady than when you walk into supermarkets and they tell you there's 20% off something that was actually 20% or has been reduced for a day because of whatever, however they do these stupid deals. They kind of go, yeah, it's 20% of this. It's like, that's because you put the price up yesterday. It's 20% of yesterday's price.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not doing that. We're going, hey, do you want to listen to something that takes you out of this monotonous, ridiculous world that we live in and actually make you feel happy? And people go, yeah, I'd really like that. You go, okay, have a listen to this then.
Yeah.
Or sad, or feel anything. Just feel something by listening to music. So I'm quite comfortable with that whole part of it. I think it's important. There is a transactional element to it, but it's no worse than anything else you buy. Yeah. So
no, and listen, music has its worth, and if it's worth it to you, then you should be, whoever makes it should be remunerated for it, right?
That word, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing is, by doing what we do. Part of our thing, I always use the expression amplifying the voice. It's about amplifying the voice of every independent musician who's part of what we're doing. And obviously our focus is always going to be, firstly on the artist that we sign. But, with all these other projects we run, it's also about the people that are part of that collective. And, ideally someone who is, signed to us or associated with us, ideally they get massive, right? And it doesn't matter even who it is necessarily. Someone gets massive, and then all the people that are listening to them and looking at them and interested in them go, where did this person come from? Yeah. And they look down and they see our little community and they go, well, that's cool. I'm going to see what's in there, and they get involved. And it just, the idea is to snowball. And you can only, the amplifying the voice thing is all about just having someone else on your team to shout about what you do. So, we obviously take a cut of the things we sell because we're reinvesting our money in the label, but we're giving the artists far more than what they're able to do on their own. Not just in, hopefully in terms of money, we're helping them sell more, but just in terms of the ability to project and put out and have something behind you is so powerful, when actually being a musician can be so isolating and lonely and kind of dreary. And you kind of, you even just recording something and you get to the 50-second take and you're doing it on your own, and you're like, I don't know what's good anymore, and I wish someone else would listen to this and tell me. And maybe you send it to a few friends or whatever, and then eventually you get to the end of it, you put the thing out, and you go, oh God, now I've got to promote it. I just want to sit in my pants and play the guitar. And it's kind of, I can help you, I can enable you to do that. You can go and sit in the corner and play the guitar, because I'll take over on Friday and do this bit, and then I might ask you what you think of this on Monday, and then I might go, hey, should we get people to remix this song? And you might go, that's a crazy idea, but why not? Or whatever it might be. So it's kind of, I think it's, the value of it, when people buy things, musicians get paid, which is fantastic. But also what we're trying to do is, not just, as well as give them, the money and the ability to earn more money, we're trying to give them that kind of, that home, that nest, that place to grow from.
Which is really important. And I think that what I really like about what you're doing is it's providing that missing piece that's sort of been lost with the collapse of the record industry. Let's put it that way, because right now it's become what's left is very predatory. It's mostly just surviving on the corpse of what was done for the last 50, 60 years.
Yeah,
they're not really producing anything of value that's new.
No.
And the problem is there were valuable services that some record labels did provide, right?
Yeah,
when you look at some of the music careers of great musicians, I mean, they were only that great because they were given the tools to be great and given the time and the focus to create a fantastic career and have 2 or 3 albums fail. Right. Before that big success that then everyone remembers as that's the first time, this band appeared out of nowhere. And then, no, they didn't appear out of nowhere. They've been working at it for 5 years. Right.
Yeah. They worked really, really hard to get there.
And the thing is, I think that one of the things that's missing is that, the ability for acts to actually mature and develop, because it's very difficult to do it on your own.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's really hard. And I think, that what's interesting is that there isn't anything we're doing as a label that you couldn't do as an independent artist. In fact, the only reason I know how to do most of it is because I did it as an independent artist. There are small differences. Like if I send the same email from a band email account as I send from a record label email account, my open rate on the label is up by about 25%. Now, there's no difference in the wording. I even sign it with the same name, but there's something about that more people will open it. And if they open it, they're more likely to read it. And if they read it, they're more likely to download it. And then they'll write about it or play it on their radio station or whatever it may be that we're sending out to. So there are kind of small things like that. But otherwise, it's no different. But it is kind of having that backup. So one of the artists that we're putting out, there's two coming up where they've never released anything. One's never released anything at all. And he's already got the biggest selling single of all the singles we've ever made because people love it, which is great. And singles don't sell a lot; they tend to stream a lot, but they don't sell a lot. And one of them, no one even knows about yet because we haven't announced her. But I think he's going to be similar, really, really special. Just an incredible kind of voice and everything. These two people are, even and I don't want to say bad things about indie labels because there's so many good ones and I've spoken to so many good ones, but even the independent labels I've spoken to over the last couple of years when I was sort of building this all up, most of them are looking for a certain level of popularity, a certain level of, experience before they even start listening to the music. And I understand the reasons why, because it's not, unless you win the lottery or you just happen to be very, very rich, there's not like a bottomless pit of money. But I think what we've done with the subscriptions is built trust, built a community of people that will support us and built trust. And we can kind of take a risk and go, I think this is really good. And I don't care if no one knows who you are. I'll tell the people that I know who you are. And also if you tell the people that you know, because you do know some people that you are also an artist, they might like it. And then that might, and these two things kind of grow and, come together and it becomes something. I'm not expecting either of those debut albums to be, our biggest selling thing. But what I do think will happen is they will come back and do a second thing with us. And the interesting thing about our contract is they're not obligated to, but I would like them to come. If they want to, the door's open. But it's not like, we don't do these multi-year, multi-records. It's too complicated. It's just like, just do it one at a time. And that's my risk and it's fine. So I think the second thing that we do and the third thing that we do with them, I think is going to be massive because I think people will start to know who they are and we're almost working on a development budget with those guys. Whereas some of the more established people, it's kind of, okay, how can we take advantage of the platform you've already got and the people you've already got that listen to you and the people that have reviewed your music in the past or interviewed you in the past and all that. How can we take advantage of that and then also grow and snowball that? And that's a different place to start from, but it's not necessarily a different technique or tactic to releasing music. It's just having a different starting point. And I don't mind starting from nothing because, like I say, people are paying for it anyway. And if the feedback turns really bad and I've made a mistake and signed someone terrible, then so be it. That's on me. But we've got enough good feedback that I seem to be doing something right for the people that want to pay for it. So let's keep going. Is how I look at it,
Yeah, no. It's I think that you've really struck on an interesting model. Mostly because of the sort of community building aspects of it. And building out a network so that anything that gets released, it's got an automatic reach that you wouldn't necessarily have. Because like you said, and it's gotten to the point, it's not only the indies that are signing bands based on them having a following already. That's what the majors are doing as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the days of actual A&D of artistic development are done.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
It's crazy, and I think that's a reflection of just how pitiful most major releases are these days, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's I was speaking to Gozer Goodspeed, who's our longest standing artist. He was our first record that we put out, and he's recording a new one, and we've been through different versions of the conversation about what he's going to do with the new one. Is it going to be an EP? Are you going to go to a studio? Are you going to do it at home? Are you going to combine both? Is it going to be an album? And we've kind of, for various reasons, like there are there's personnel issues sometimes, getting people to go to a studio or whatever. One of the studios he was looking at, he helped build, so it was kind of quite new, and it was moving from one place to another, but quite kind of new and stuff. And actually, as the conversations evolved, I think he's realised, and I've probably reflected and realised as well. I don't care where you do it, and I don't care when you do it. I'm just pleased that you want to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we'd have set a date and gone, this must be ready by this date to do this, it either might not have been as good as I now know it's going to be, because it might have been, you know, for time pressure, or the songs might not be ready, or whatever it may be, all of those other things. Or it could have been very good, but just not right. You know, it could have not worked. Whereas I know now what we're doing is brilliant. And if he said to me, you know, if he comes back to me tomorrow and goes, well, that date we said, I might need to move that by a month, I'll find something else to put in that place, and I'll move that by a month. And I don't have to worry. We're working at a relatively small scale. I don't have to worry about, you know, I haven't invested tens of thousands of dollars in, you know, some marketing company to put billboards up everywhere, which probably makes no difference anyway. I've just, you know, it's relaxed and it's casual, and it allows that development. Whether that development is someone very established like him, just trying to figure out, you know, what is this new sound that I'm trying to do, and how do I, you know, make the most out of that and spend the time on it. And again, if you book a studio and you get a couple of days, you've kind of got to do all the work first. So if you're recording at home, you've got the ability to try things and all the rest of it. Or whether it's someone brand new who's come along and gone, you know, you spot people and you go, I think you're amazing. Have you got an album in you? And they go, yeah, I think so, but will anyone enjoy it? And you go, yeah, I know loads. And that's just a great, you know, so it doesn't bother me what people do in what time frame, because I can find, you know, everyone wants to be part of it. It's just, I have to pick and choose the things that I love. And
yeah, of course. Well, I mean, that goes without saying, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be,
you know,
yeah, it's difficult not to.
I think, listen, I think the one mistake that people make is to assume that a committee is going to be in any way superior to an individual vision, or the vision of a small team, right?
Yeah.
And it just never is.
Well, the example I always give is,
know,
when I first moved in with my wife, before she was my wife, we were just, you know, young boyfriend and girlfriend. And we came across this dilemma the first time we went shopping, which was that she likes really mild cheese and I like really mature, strong cheese. And it's like, oh, what cheese do we buy? We've never had to do this before. And she said, no, sorry, I said, why don't we just buy the medium one? Because that's kind of, you know, then it's a bit of both. And she went, but it's not a bit of both. It just means we'll both be miserable. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point.
Exactly. It's kind of, let's budget. You'll get you'll buy your cheese. I'll buy my cheese, and I don't want to smell it.
Exactly. There's got to be some sort of compromise. So, you know, I now, obviously, you know, the cheese is all mild in the house, and I only have the mature one, you know, when it's a special day. But the point is, you compromise along the way somewhere. But you shouldn't be compromising on you shouldn't be compromising on the experience. The compromise I made was to make her happy. Fine, I don't mind if we actually buy a mixture of cheese, but you know, I wouldn't mind whose cheese we bought, because it's like, it's a silly thing. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to compromise on the quality of what we release because loads of other people are telling me, oh, this will sell really well, or it'll be really popular, or whatever. Or you know, sometimes you just like, I really like your music, but I can't click with you, we won't work well together. I'm not going to force all of my energy into something where I know that you're going to do bugger all because you're not interested in it. So you've just got to work with people, you know, that you really, really love what they do and who they are, and you can kind of go, yeah, I could do this forever and not worry about it. You know, if I make music videos for artists, I have to watch that thing like 100 times by the time you get every shot in the right place. And if I'm bored of that song afterwards, it's not going to be a very fun experience trying to sell it. And so far, I've not been bored of a single music video I've edited, because they're all really good songs, which is why I chose them in the first place. So,
but I mean, that's always the worry. And no matter how good a song is, you can overplay it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend sitting and putting any song on 100-time repeat, to be honest with you, but it is quite telling, you know, and I'm not even really exaggerating with some of the, especially if you're doing lyric videos, it takes so long to put all the different, you know, you put all the shots in place, whether it's an animation or a film or whatever, and then you layer on all the individual lyrics, and it, you know, literally you can watch some of them 100 times and go, oh my God, but not getting bored of them is a good sign.
No, that's the best. It's the best sign. Yeah, but I tell you, I've generally stopped making music videos because it was taking more, you know, as much time as to do the song.
And this is again,
and it's the next thing, and then you put it up on YouTube or whatever, and it gets 100 plays. you
This
know.
is the thing, yeah, and
And
it's enough to drive you mad, isn't it?
yeah,
You just go, why am I doing this? Whereas,
yeah,
again, it's another thing about having that label, having that team behind you.
yeah,
I love editing videos. I wanted to
yeah.
work in advertising when I was younger. I thought that was what my career would be, until I don't know why I changed my mind, but I just decided to do something else. But
You met some people in advertising.
yeah, yeah, probably, yeah, exactly, yeah. But I just assumed, because I really liked, especially the editing part of videos. I was never
Yeah.
a videographer, but if you gave me a load of footage and some of it was a bit crappy and some of it was different colors and some of it was in
Yeah,
wrong angles, I could fix all that. But also I could cut it in the right place. It would tell you the story. That was just something I could
yeah.
do.
Hmm.
And I'd like to think I could still. I haven't done it every day for 15 years. I've done other things every day for 15 years, but I still do it enough that I kind of think, I think, you spot things that other people don't spot, and it's kind of,
Yeah.
why did you do that? It's like, well, it was those 3 frames
Yeah.
really annoying me. It's like, how do you see that? I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, and it's a talent, and it's, I think a lot of people don't realize that visually you still need a narrative, right? You
Yeah, I
still
think,
need to tell a story,
yeah,
and telling it visually is often more difficult, because it's not it's more well, I wouldn't say necessarily more intuitive, but it's more implied
yeah,
versus having the clarity, well, the sometimes or somewhat clarity of
yeah,
language, right?
yeah, definitely.
You know.
It's also, I kind of, I believed for a long time that music videos were dead, because I think the Foo Fighters just did it. They just killed it with the sort of parody videos of what were so similar to normal music
Yeah.
videos that were rubbish, and they just did it brilliantly, and it was funny and stupid. And you just thought, certainly I thought, well, the idea of narrative music video is now so boring to me. It's
Hmm.
boy meets girl, girl meets boy. Um,
Yeah.
they get on, they don't get on, who cares? And it's kind of, it's just not interesting. Or band plays in warehouse and the drone flies over and smoke flies up. It's like, who cares? So to me, it's like, can
And
we
there's
do
swinging
something?
lights, and
Yeah, yeah. So for me, it's like, if I can do something more interesting. I mean, even the older ones, like the Metallica one video. I love that song. I love that band when I was younger, but it was such a convoluted concept, because it was like an 8-minute song or whatever it is, about this bloke with no arms and no legs, and it's just like, there's only so many ways you can show that and go, yeah, we're a spooky metal band.
Yeah.
So it kind of, they always get ruined for me. So the ones we've done, some of them are lyric videos, which is different because it's about pairing the, either creating meaning in the lyrics or pairing visuals that kind of add something but don't take away from the fact that you want people to read and absorb the lyrics.
Yeah.
Or we've done, just kind of weird or silly things, or use kind of Creative Commons footage, which again is sort of part of that collective idea.
Yeah.
Someone did a great kind of it was loads of kind of colored acetate things that they've cut out to make this kind of weird animated King Kong type story, which was beautiful, and they put it on Creative Commons so anyone could use it. I was like, this would be a really cool idea for a music video, just kind of mess around with some of the order and the editing of that, and that was quite popular. People loved it. We did another one where I got people to film their first reaction. So I said, don't play the song, right, but put your camera on and then play the song and send me the video of you listening to the song for the first time.
Fun.
So we had all these amazing first reactions. No one knew what to expect. They didn't know who the band was. It's just random people that went, yeah, I'm up for doing something. I was like, right, you don't know who this is. You don't know anything about it. I just want to see your reaction. And it's beautiful. It's so good. Like watching
That's
that
fantastic.
video. I love it. It's much more interesting than,
Yeah.
here's a story in 3 minutes that no one actually cares about.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to, and I'm not saying I've nailed this formula, by the way. None of this is perfect. Like, we're still learning, but we're just trying to do something slightly different that makes us, and by association, the artists that we work with, stand out and up and above the noise, because there's millions of people out there.
Yeah.
Loads of them are really good. And if I've got a voice, and I can talk about some of them that are really good, and there's a few thousand people that follow me on whichever platform, and they've got a voice and they like it, then we can kind of just keep amplifying it in that way, rather than when you're on your own, it's just one person shouting into a tunnel sometimes. It's
shouting into the storm.
Yeah, here's a link to my song. Oh, that's the 300th link I've seen to a song today. Tell me about the song. Tell me about you, and maybe I'll be more interested. And we help.
No, I know. It's a crazy situation. Yeah. So listen, I've taken a lot of your time. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to wrap up.
Cool.
So, and hopefully you remember. And it's the question I ask everyone: what was the first, in your case, CD? Because I know you said it was CDs. What was the first CD you bought?
Oh, oh my God, it was a single. What was the first thing I bought? That is a great question. So I remember I had a few tapes, but it was mostly CDs, and I'm sure the first thing I bought was on CD. I lived in that weird time, but when I was a little bit older, a couple of years after I discovered music, you could walk into a record shop and there was a record, a CD, a mini disc, and a cassette tape of the same album. You could kind of choose your format.
That's when I worked in the record stores.
Yeah, I think it was only for about 6 months in 1997 or something, but it was very I don't know, it's very odd. But so I'm trying to think. It would have been a single. I know that one of the first singles I bought was a Supergrass song. Oh no, a Charlatan song maybe was one of the first ones. But I also had stuff like the Spice Girls and E17. I had the PJ and Duncan single. That might have been one of the first ones. That was probably about 93, wasn't it? Which is before they were Ant and Dec, when they were still on Beaker Grove in the telly. So probably something rubbish. But I used to make mixtapes with my dad's CDs, and I used to do things like there's a Bowie song called "Always Crashing in the Same Car." And I think it's about 2 minutes or less. So it's the perfect song to put at the end of a tape when you filled the first side with 42 minutes of music, and you don't want the gap at the end. So I used to do stuff like that where I discover music by their length. There was a Paul Weller song called "Pink on White Walls" that was it fitted in a certain place on a tape.
I DJ'd for a while, so I know exactly what that's about. Like,
I
had a couple of songs that were like 10 minutes long. It was a 10-minute remix or something like that. And that was the song where you could go out and take a break.
Yeah.
You know, and at some point you needed to take a break, so you'd put this on, and you knew it was a good enough song.
Yeah.
There was some interesting stuff, you know, like one that I remember was there was an ABC, it was a dance remix.
Okay,
it was sort of a medley of 2 or 3 of their hits. It was really good.
Yeah.
And the thing had to be about 9 minutes long.
Oh wow.
Right? So it was the absolute perfect sort of EP, you know, that you'd throw on at some point during a set.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love stuff.
No, it's good. It's amazing. Almost everyone I ask, the first thing they bought was something that was absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah, you know, I couldn't even tell you.
The thing is, it's like the people who produced and wrote those songs.
Yeah.
They were earworms, right?
Yeah, that's what.
And like you said, it's like I thought it was a great story. You're in a car with your parents, and you actually realize there's something on the radio for the first time, where it's always just had been in the background. And you know, it's oftentimes just that kind of thing, right? There's something about it that attracts you, or you know, I can remember myself as a kid as well. There's certain songs like that I could absolutely remember the first time that I heard it on the radio.
Yeah, definitely. And
you know, like Rock Lobster by the B-52s.
Yeah, definitely.
Like just that first one, that sort of organ comes in at the beginning of the song.
Yeah,
it's I don't think you can explain to anyone just how revolutionary that song was when it came out, because there's nothing that sounded anything like that, right? And it was so well mastered for radio that it you know what I mean? And that's the other thing that's sort of a lost art, because no one's listening to radio that much anymore.
No,
you know, there's songs that became successful because they really sound great over a radio signal.
Yeah,
you know, with a cheap system, crappy, whatever. But the thing just comes through like you know what I mean?
It just works, yeah. Sometimes it's kind of, you know, especially if
and it makes you stop and say, what the hell is that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, my parents always said that I was brought up on Led Zeppelin and Simply Red, because my dad loves Led Zeppelin, my mum loves Simply Red.
Well, those are 2 pretty good choices.
You know, but yeah, no, I actually really like both, particularly the Zeppelin side of things, but I like Simply Red. I think they're good. But yeah, it's so difficult. There are so many songs I remember buying in that era, and so many that I'd not heard them necessarily. Like they might have been in the top 40, but when you listen to that for 3 hours, you don't know what's what by the end of it. So you kind of go and you go, oh, I remember that one. You got a bit of pocket money. You go, I think I'll get that one this week. And I remember that one. And then, that's got a good cover. And you end up buying, like, I bought a Peter Andre single that was terrible. But I don't know if it was, I think it had 2 different covers or something. It was like you could pick one. I was like, oh, that's quite cool. I'll pick the green one. It was actually a really terrible song that I had played once, even at the age of 8 or whatever I was when it came out. I was like, I'm not doing this again. But you don't know, do you? And I also bought a version of History by Michael Jackson. And I remember being really disappointed. Like, now I think it's really good, but I was really disappointed as a child that the thing went on for about 8 minutes and most of it was just a drum beat, because actually the single version you heard on the radio was 3 minutes and it was the bit that was in the middle. And most of it is exactly what you just said. It's that song you put on so the DJ can go and get a drink and go to the toilet or whatever.
Yep.
The bass kind of comes up and goes down and does whatever it does. And I was like, oh my God, where's the song? This is rubbish. It's just like, so there are certain things, whereas now you look back and go, that's really cool. I really like extended, breakbeat versions of things or whatever. I think it's really cool. But first thing I can't remember. I can tell you what my brother's first music purchase was. And I'm only saying this to embarrass him highly and take away from the fact that I can't even remember my own.
Go for it.
But this might not translate at all in the US and Canada and everywhere else. But do you know who Mr. Blobby is? Do you know what Mr. Blobby is?
No.
No. So there was and you wouldn't, and I wouldn't expect you to. No one should. But there was a TV show in the 90s, I guess. Do you know who Noel Edmonds is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So Noel Edmonds had a little TV show where he sat in a studio that looked like a little country English home, and crazy stuff happened, and he would, gun celebrities and interview people. And it was kind of a Saturday night, kind of, family prime time kind of show. And they had this person that dressed up in this massive pink and yellow, it was a pink, huge, like alien type suit with yellow spots on it and a big smiley face. And it was called Mr. Blobby. And it was this very clumsy character that would stumble in on everything and trip over things and break things. And they do like cut scenes with him and all this sort of stuff. And Mr. Blobby became, for a brief period of time in England, in some of our darker days, a national celebrity. And he released a single in the early 90s.
Of course he did.
Which was terrible. But my brother bought it on cassette tape. And he borrowed my Sonic the Hedgehog Walkman to play his Mr. Blobby tape. Broke it, actually. I've never replaced that Walkman, but he broke it because he played it so many times and loved it so much. And that was, he's 3.5 years younger than me, so he'd seen me building my little empire of rubbish and sometimes good CD singles, and he'd gone, oh, I'd quite like to buy some music, and so he went and bought the Mr. Blobby tape.
Listen, we in Canada, it's very hockey obsessed.
Yeah.
And the number of bad records, mostly singles, done by hockey players. But I'm sure it's the same with football players, right? The famous ones. I'm sure they do these terrible stuff. Yeah. So
I had
it's not surprising.
Man United on CD, I'm sure.
Everyone has something like that in their closet, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. But
anyway,
I think the thing is, like, when something like that hits you, like, so sorry, I know we're out of time, but my son, he's now 10, when he was 6, I think, maybe 5.5, we were sitting in the car, and, I always put music on in the car, and it was the same as probably my experience with my dad. He always seemed more aware of it because there's guitars all over the house, and I'm always going on about music, and I'm sort of obsessed with it. So he's probably more aware of it at a younger age. But anyway, AC/DC comes on, Thunderstruck, with that amazing riff at the beginning. And he looks straight at me as I'm driving, and he goes, "Dad," I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Can I learn the guitar?" I was like, "Yes, you can." So I think there's this moment that we all have where we go, "Oh, that's cool. Maybe I'm interested in what this sound is." Yeah. And I'm quite excited. My youngest is 2. I'm quite excited to see at what age he, like, when he was very little, I used to play him kind of early 2000s pop punk playlists, and it seemed he really liked them. I wonder if that will, ever be remembered or completely forgotten as he grows older. I don't know, but at some point everyone discovers it, and when you discover it and you get the bug for it, it just takes over your whole life, and that's what's happened to me. And I think there's far worse ways to spend your life, so I think it's a good thing.
I would not disagree. Anyway, Mike, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
It was a real pleasure. We've got to do it again.
Yeah, love to. Yeah.
And anyway, thanks. Yeah, no. Well, I'll have you on again, and we'll figure out a theme, and we'll do something else.
Always. Yeah, no, I'm up for that. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent.
But no, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And what you're doing is brilliant. It's a
Well,
fantastic.
thank you, and again, thank you for being such a great guest.
No, my pleasure. I'll let you crack
Okay.
on. But yeah, speak to you soon, hopefully. Cheers.
Definitely. Thanks everyone for watching through to the end, and subscribe if you like it. See you later.